Hello, welcome back to the Checkpoint Reach podcast. I'm your host Luke Eldon, and I'm joined by my fellow gamers and friends Sud
Hello, Luke.
and Perks.
Hey there.
How you doing, guys? You good?
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Good.
How are you
Glad to
doing?
hear. Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks, mate. Unfortunately, there's no Matty again this week because Champions League football is the reason. Understandably so, as he's a United fan. So once again, come on, Barcelona.
It worked last week.
It did work last week, and I'm hoping it'll work this week again. But before we do get started with the podcast, remember to subscribe to our channel for more gaming content each week. Give the video a like and also comment below, as it'll help the channel to grow. So let's get to it. Our first topic of the day is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's release date, trailer, gameplay details have all been revealed at Star Wars Celebration this past weekend. After a couple of teasers, EA and Respawn Entertainment have finally revealed the first details about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, including its release date and on what platforms players can expect it. EA has given Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a release date of November 15th, 2019, and also, as I mentioned previously, the trailer was revealed as well. So, what do we think of this? I mean, it's a great date for me. That's near my birthday, so freebie game for me to try, which I'd be buying anyway, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, the release date, to be fair, it makes sense, doesn't it, with the film coming out, I think, just a month later.
Yeah,
So
capitalise on that.
Yeah, it makes complete sense, to be honest. I think we all expected it to be around that date. I enjoyed the trailer. I think it's important to note that obviously this was a very cinematic trailer. I mean, there was pretty much zero gameplay in there. So obviously we can't fully judge what the game's going to be like yet, but as far as the cinematic trailer goes, I think they did it well. It looked like it had good production values. It looks like the game's going to be interesting story-wise. Obviously, it takes place. Is it between 3 and 4, isn't it?
Yeah, and in the trailer they get the Execute Order 66 in there.
So it's pretty much. I guess the game's going to span maybe a few years as well. By the sounds of it, maybe it starts. Yeah, just after Execute Order 66 and then goes from there. But good to see the lightsaber. Obviously, that's one thing that was good. Because this could have easily been a game where you played as like a trooper or something, couldn't it? Or we don't know. But obviously, seeing the lightsaber,
the title would have been a little bit misleading, though.
Yeah, true. That is true. But it's good that you actually are going to be playing. It seems like a Jedi.
Was that ever really in doubt?
Probably not, but it just put my when I actually
What was that
saw
old
the
Star Wars
lightsaber,
game though that was getting made? Do you remember it got cancelled? Was it like Star Wars 33? No, that's wrong.
13,
Star Wars
13.
13. No,
You're going to be a
name,
bounty
by the way.
hunter.
yeah, exactly. Well, the name I didn't really like either, but yeah, you're going to be a bounty hunter. So
Yeah.
I see. Where
Yeah,
you're
I
coming
just
from, Sid.
I think it was just when it was kind of more confirmation when I saw the lightsaber. Oh, that's good. Like because if there hadn't have been a lightsaber in the trailer, we might have been a bit more suspicious. But
See, for me, Jedi's, Sith, anything to do with lightsabers, the best thing about Star Wars. So what makes it different, obviously. So I always want a game where it gives me the chance to be a Jedi and give me a good story with it as well.
Yeah, it's a bit like Rogue One, isn't it? As much as I really enjoyed that film, but there definitely was something missing without there being any sort of lightsaber fights or anything like that.
In a Star Wars film.
Yeah, so
and arguably the best scene was Vader.
yeah. I mean, for me, I think for me it is the best scene. That's because it's got it's Darth Vader and it's got a lightsaber in it. But,
Yeah, because it's Star Wars.
Yeah,
That's what we've come to expect over the years, and without it, it definitely has something.
It's not
missing.
the same. No, and I think we can expect a good game. Personally, I know that's kind of stupid to say just off this cinematic trailer, but I'm more going off who's developing it. To be honest, I do trust Respawn to make a good game. They've got good pedigree with their single player games, as we've seen with Titanfall 2. And, obviously the success of Apex Legends helps them, I think, immensely as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Unfortunately, I never got to play the Titanfall series, but I know how much you guys rave about it and how much you enjoyed the story elements to Titanfall 2. So I'm confident that it'll be a well-told story anyway, at least.
Yeah.
I'm definitely confident in the story when the game actually comes around. I must admit, I'm going to come at the trailer from a different angle to Sid. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was really bland. I thought it was kind of nicely put together from a cinematic perspective. It played well, but it didn't really show me anything that I wanted to see. It it continually repeated the three things. Was it don't stand out, accept the past, and trust no one?
Mm-hmm.
Before the trust in the force thing at the end, which was
Perky's mottos of life as well.
yeah, trust
Coincidentally.
no one. All about that hustle. I just think we don't particularly know too much. I mean, we already knew it was going to be something to do with avoiding the Empire and trying to live and survive in secrecy anyway. So just seeing that play out isn't something that we didn't expect from the get-go. The protagonist himself, is it Cal? I want to say Cal something.
Yeah, I think
his name is.
That's what they kept mentioning. I think they kept repeating that.
Cal looks generic as hell.
Yeah.
He
looked very powerful in certain scenes.
Yeah, he did, which I don't really know what to make of that because
Same.
Theoretically he probably shouldn't be. I think the coolest thing about the trailer was probably the antagonist, if I'm going to be confident enough in saying that, the dude with the red visor.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool.
Whoever that character turns out to be, I'm going to assume that they probably are the main antagonist in the game. They gave me a feeling of like a cooler looking Captain Phasma, a bit more sleek and a bit more quick. So I'm kind of interested to see where they go with that. It looks like it's the kind of character that's going to follow you and appear at different parts of the story and maybe be onto you from the get-go and sort of ducking and diving and trying to avoid them before they resurface later on in the game, I would assume. Other than that, I don't really know. I was disappointed. I wanted to see more.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I do agree with you about the protagonist. Did look a little bit bland. I think that's definitely... I would agree with that. Although sometimes that can be deceiving, can't it? Because, it's a bit like, I remember Mass Effect. Like, I remember thinking, like, when that trailer first came out, the first one, like, oh, that Shepard looks a bit boring. But, I was completely wrong.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so sometimes you can be deceived by things like that. But initial impressions, yeah, the protagonist looks a little bit bland. And we'll have to see how they'll try and work around that. Yeah, the antagonist did look cool. That was probably, out of all the people shown in the trailer, he looked the coolest one. Looked like he'd be pretty formidable.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on something Perk said. Do you not think Captain Phasma looks cool then?
I think Phasma looks cool, but
I mean, they killed her character pretty much. But
yeah.
See, when we saw the concept art of Phasma before Phasma was actually in the films, and then obviously the photographs and the stills from scenes and things like that, and then obviously appearing in the trailer, everything looked cool. But I thought in the actual films, she was really slow and clunky and didn't really hit the spot for me. And I think this character just looks a lot more like what I would have expected from Phasma.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think.
So I'm happy to see what they've done with this.
I think if they'd have done a better job with Phasma, the actual character itself,
yeah,
you might have had a different feeling about it, or thoughts about it. But
yeah, they sold her out big time.
Yeah, they really did.
What do we think about the sort of the things that were told about the game, such as single player only, no microtransactions? I mean, I suppose we were all kind of pleased with that.
Yeah, I'm very pleased, but I did see a funny meme. I think it was from like Wallace and Gromit. It was like, they're up to something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a very strange one, isn't it, with EA?
Yeah, it's like, really?
You wouldn't expect this. Yeah,
they kind of mock themselves as well on their own Twitter account, on their EA Star Wars account about that.
Now, I do wonder, not so much with the single player only, because I don't think Apex Legends would have affected that whatsoever, because the game was obviously is pretty much nearly finished, isn't it, by now? But I do wonder whether the microtransactions bit was because of the success of Legends, in terms of they don't need to put them in now because Legends has sort of done so well for Respawn and for
So
EA.
if Legends was a flop, then
that's what I'm kind of
microtransactions
saying.
may have been in this.
Yeah, I do. You do wonder, don't you, if that would have been a thing?
That seems quite logical.
Because
especially with EA. Yeah.
No microtransactions is something they can pretty much just say whenever, can't they? They could say it 2 days before the game comes out and take them out.
To be fair, though, it might not just be EA. It might be Disney. Because remember with the microtransactions controversy with Battlefront, Disney really got annoyed about that, didn't they? And they forced EA to do something about it. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd agree with that, and I think I suppose that's one good thing about some people moan, don't they, about Apex Legends and go, oh, we hate these type of games, but maybe we should be grateful for Apex Legends' success. Maybe it might make this game a better game in the long run. So, and hopefully not as
Yeah,
much controversy around it. I mean, it's going to be, I think that's the thing, isn't it? EA now, the fact that it hasn't got any microtransactions, that it's a single player only game, people can't really be too critical of them. I suppose the only way they could be critical if the game's terrible. But
yeah, that's true.
Respawn would be the ones getting all the slack, I suppose, if it was. So
yeah, exactly. Just like we've seen with BioWare and EA
Yeah.
recently. I think it's quite easy for them to say no multiplayer, no microtransactions with a game like this, regardless of whether that's come around just because of how successful Apex has been, and they can steer well clear of that now. I think with a game like this, there's absolutely no reason for microtransactions to be in the game. Sure, they could have had something where Cal dresses with a different cloak or wears a different hood or something like that, but there was really no need for it. So I'm glad to see they haven't been pigeonholed in just for the sake of microtransactions.
No.
yeah, no, definitely.
It's a great PR spin for him, though, isn't it? After everything, like I mentioned with Battlefront.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one more point just to make on this is, I don't know if you used to remember, but I remember EA making a statement. It was a long time ago now. I think it was when Dead Space 2 came out. You might remember, Perts, where they said no EA game from going forward will only be single player. They definitely made that
Vague in my
because that's
memory.
why Dead Space 2 they shoehorned in the multiplayer, didn't they? If you remember rightly, which no one played.
What? Say that again, Sid. What? No EA game going forward from Dead Space would be single player only.
It was around that time. I don't know whether Dead Space 2 was the first one, but it was definitely around that time. They pretty much said that from now on, all our games are going to have some sort of online infrastructure or online component.
Was that
And
Patrick
I think
Soderlund by any chance?
Could have been. It may have been. But it was around 2010, 2011 sort of time. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you two can think of any, but I can't remember a new published EA game, AAA game, that's not had multiplayer in that time.
Wow, that's a question.
Right, yeah,
Star Wars
off the top
Battlefront,
of my
Star
head.
Wars Battlefront 2,
I'm trying to
Titanfall 1,
think.
Titanfall 2. Obviously, all the FIFAs, Maddens, all the sports games have.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done many games, to be fair, in that time, but I think this might be the first one for a long time.
Andromeda had multiplayer as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disaster.
Yeah. It wasn't very
Mass
good.
Effect 3 as well had
Mass
multiplayer.
Effect 3, yeah.
So this might be maybe a slight change with EA. I mean, we'll see. It might not be, but
Or maybe they had a look at the past year and seen all the single player games that done so well. And they thought, oh, actually, maybe that is a market we shouldn't ignore.
Yeah, definitely. And you do wonder, don't you, whether you do wonder whether they're making this game thinking about their profits, or are they making this game thinking about their image? In terms of maybe even if this game say it only sells 2-3 million copies, but if it's a if it's a critical success and it makes people think, oh, maybe EA aren't too bad, maybe that's better for them even than making a bit more profit off it in the long run.
Their image definitely needs tuning or a touch up or whatever you want to say.
It definitely does.
It's in the dirt at the moment.
Yeah, to say tune in is probably giving them a bit too much credit for where the image is right now. I think from a financial and from an image perspective, I think this game's good. You guys have already touched on the timing in relation to when the next film actually comes out. So let's face it, even if the game was garbage, it would probably still do quite well. I don't think it will be garbage, but I think they've got all of the boxes ticked with this one in terms of the timing, in terms of what they've shown so far with the no microtransactions, and actually what the game is going to be, which is just a straight up adventure single player only game. And everything seems to be in order. And I guess that does open the door for a little bit of pessimism, because you think, like you said before with the meme, something's got to be up. What's actually going on here? But for the time being, I think we can be pleased that everything does seem to be moving in the right direction with it.
Yeah, definitely.
The last thing I'd really say on it was, and I touched on this last week, how I felt it would be set in a completely different location to what we've seen before, which has been confirmed now. The location's called Braca, and that I like because it gives the freedom for the game to basically do whatever it wants within that space, because it doesn't have to conform to any rules that we've seen previously. And on the flip side, Respawn did confirm as well that there would be old locations, gear, weapons, things like that will be familiar to more long-term fans. So I'm quite pleased with that.
Yeah, so I
Same,
suppose
actually.
you're going to probably get this sort of Coruscant, Tatooine type areas as well, I imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
which
sure.
is, I think that's good to have a mix, isn't it? Because it's good to have new places, obviously, because you want to see what they do with it. But it's also nice to go to more maybe familiar places as well. So I think that's a good touch.
I wonder what enemies they're going to have in it in majority. Obviously, we've seen stormtroopers are going to
Yeah,
play
mostly
quite a
stormtroopers, I imagine.
prominent part. We've got this new antagonist who probably doesn't survive through to the end because we've never seen them before. But when they said it was plural enemies, not just enemies. So I wonder if there'll be any real familiar faces there,
Do you
like
think
some of the main villains.
Do you think Vader will be in it?
How about
It's
a cameo?
possible.
Cameo.
I mean, it would go with the time frame, so it'd make perfect sense, and it'd be Vader sort of when he's younger as well. So you'd imagine maybe a little bit more agile, rather than sort of the Vader from the original Star Wars films, where he was kind of more slow, wasn't he, and cumbersome as he ages.
Oh yeah.
So
him and Obi-Wan in that frantic.
Yeah,
mode.
let's hope there's no battles that slow, because that wouldn't be good. But with Respawn's track record on fast-paced gameplay, I imagine the lightsaber duels will be probably very fast-paced. So that's good. But yeah, I think with enemies, I think you're probably going to get a lot of sort of creatures as well, Perks, I'd imagine. I can imagine there being sort of, maybe tall creatures. Because in the Star Wars universe, there is actually a lot of creatures, isn't there?
Oh,
To be fair, so
loads of different species.
yeah,
Isn't
there's loads of species, and so I imagine you probably get to fight some giant troll-like enemies and random things like that. I'd imagine.
Sure.
You think? What do you think the main story's going to be then? I mean, obviously it's a guess, isn't it? But do you think how, as we mentioned, do you think Vader will be just a cameo, or do you think, because obviously he in this time frame leads the basically the fight against exterminating the Jedi for good?
Well, I mean, if one of the first scenes in the trailer, I think it's first scene or maybe midway through, is obviously the Emperor giving the order, and I imagine maybe the first mission or two will be you basically escaping.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, because that just makes total sense. You'll probably start off on a mission with the well, they're not called stormtroopers at that point, are they? But they pretty much are stormtroopers. So I imagine you'll start off with the stormtroopers doing some random mission, and then all of a sudden they turn on you. Like we see in episode 3.
That would be
you'll probably have
cool.
to escape. Yeah, I imagine you'll have to escape, and then you'll probably find some like refuge or something where there's people trying to fight back, and then it'll probably go from there, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think based on the trailer itself, we've seen Cal living in this place, which is Braca, and there's a lot of cloaks and hoods up and people trying to not look shifty whilst there's Emperor's troops
characters.
And there's a lot of sort of observation and supervisory looking characters. So I'm guessing this place is under some kind of watch, like pretty much everywhere in the galaxy would be. So it seems to me like the story's probably going to be following Cal as he builds up and masters the Force and the lightsaber in secret, whilst trying not to draw too much attention to himself along the way. And it looks like you're going to have some quite prominent NPCs that will be allies, especially that part in the trailer where whatever that thing is falling down and out his hand. So it seems like he's going to have a bit of a decision to make at times, whether or not to help out his buddies or keep his powers secret. So I'm quite looking forward to what they do with it overall. And like I said, I think Vader will appear, but I think very quick cameo. Yeah, I don't think he'll be prominent throughout.
Well, another thing about just the gameplay actually as well is originally in the trailer it looks like it's going to be maybe like stealth based, doesn't it, some of the bits, but they actually confirmed there's actually not going to be any stealth in it. So I'm kind of glad about that personally, because in a Star Wars game I don't really want to be messing around, sneaking around. I just don't think that really suits Star Wars, to be honest. So I am kind of glad about that, but it did seem like from the trailer,
I don't mind a mix. If you have to be a bit incognito or something like that.
Maybe, but it seems like we're not going to get that. I mean, so it does seem like mostly going to be action, which...
See, when Perks was talking about it and saying how, you think Cal have to, start using his lightsaber a little bit more into the game. Not at the start when he's trying to be a bit more shifty and hide within plain sight. Kind of reminds me similar of Knights of the Old Republic, the first one. Because you don't know you have the Force powers, do you? And you start off as a soldier.
Yeah.
And it's only more you progress in the game that you start becoming able to use Force powers and your lightsaber and stuff. So I like that aspect.
Is that going to be a thing, though? Because with the Order 66 thing, he looked genuinely scared, as if it's as if he already knows he's sort of a Jedi, or a Jedi in training.
Oh, no, I know that, but I mean, he can't use his powers
I get you.
Because it'll give him away. So he's trying to hide them and subdue all that, all the Force sensitive stuff even.
Well, that's why I'm surprised they've said there isn't stealth.
Same actually, yeah.
I'd have thought maybe the first 2 or 3 missions might have been sneaking around, knocking stormtroopers out, stuff like that. But apparently that's not what we're going to get. So,
well, I think the positive slant on that would be that they can do a lot of that within the cinematics, and they can tell quite a powerful story without having to just focus on lightsabers going everywhere and force combat left, right, and center. And they can leave that to you in the actual gameplay. So you can watch a lot more narrative based stuff and then do all the cooler stuff yourself. So providing that's what they actually go for, I'm quite okay with that. You can imagine scenes with maybe you and a few sort of friendly NPCs huddling down alleyways and doing whatever kind of secret stuff to try and get one up on the Empire, and then all of a sudden you're spotted and you've got to take them out before the next scene and things like that. So I'm quite okay with it. It looks interesting enough. I wish the trailer was a bit more, what's the word? I guess had a bit more oomph. But when we actually delve a bit deeper and read between the lines, I'm quite okay with where it's at right now.
I'm looking forward to the gameplay trailer.
Yeah, that's going to be... I mean, first of all, it seems... I don't know if... We don't know this for definite, obviously, but it seems like it's going to be third person, based off the trailer, to me, anyway.
That's the impression I got as well.
If it's first person now, after what we've seen in the trailer. The way they did the cinematics and it just seems like it's going to be third person. But
I just think third person lends better to the lightsaber and force powers and things like that. I think it looks a lot cooler when you can see over the shoulder rather than in first person.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do, though, isn't it, Respawn? Because they've only really made first-person games. You think of... obviously, they were the masterminds behind Call of Duty 4, weren't they? At Activision, before they left Infinity Ward for Respawn. And then, obviously, Titanfall 1 and 2, both first-person shooters. So, it'd be interesting to see how it works in a third-person game. And even Apex, first-person. So...
I mean, look, it may well be first-person. There's no reason why it's not going to be, other than our own speculation and what we draw from the trailers. So it's obviously it's the flip of a coin, and I'm not going to come away from my prediction that it will be third, but past and previous would tell you that they might stick to what they know.
Maybe. Yeah. I just think the lightsaber fighting would be very awkward.
Yeah, I don't think it would look as dramatic. From a first person perspective, and that would obviously not be great. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something we'll find out soon enough whenever the gameplay trailer ends up being released. But yeah, whilst we're talking about Star Wars, I do want to touch on the fact that Episode 9's film trailer was also revealed, and so was the title. Just before we start talking about the trailer, the title, The Rise of Skywalker, what do we think?
Yeah.
Didn't like it?
Not really. I don't think it's the worst name they could have come up with, but it also isn't a name that makes me think, oh wow, at the same time. So.
Yeah.
I must admit, I don't really know what it means in
Who's
context.
It
Who's it about, exactly, yeah.
Could be Kylo.
Could be Kylo, could be Rey, could be... who knows?
Could be Luke.
Could be
Retcon Luke, please.
Back from the dead. Yeah, I mean... Maybe it's someone else. Who knows? I mean, could be bloody Anakin Skywalker for all we know. No one knows, do they? Let's be honest. We don't know.
No, but we can speculate.
No, true.
Which is also the fun part.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, we were talking off air, weren't we, about this? And me and you anyway, Luke, were kind of saying maybe it's Kylo. We're kind of leaning towards Kylo rather than Rey even.
Yeah.
Because it just makes sense, doesn't it? Because we know he's a Skywalker.
True. I mean, so
But-
I've seen so many people with different theories. I mean, as ever with Star Wars films, to be honest. But
Could both of them even be Skywalkers at the end of the day? I mean, that's the thing. It could be like, the rise. I mean, we already speculated about the start of the trailer, didn't we? About how it looks like maybe Kylo is maybe training Rey rather than attacking her.
yeah, so obviously I've Rey
So-
like waiting / then starts running away from Kylo's TIE fighter or Science
Yeah.
or whatever it's called, his own version.
So you'd imagine.
And he's not shooting or anything.
No,
like
he's not. No, he's just, which is strange because obviously TIE fighters can shoot. It's not like they can only ram
No.
people over. So, I mean, yeah, maybe that's a scene maybe 2/3 of the way into the film rather than at the start.
It feels like he might be training her. To me, that's the impression
Yeah.
I got.
It'd have to be further in the film. That couldn't be at the start of the film, though, could it? Because it wouldn't make sense. So I'm thinking that's maybe halfway through the film when things have happened, or 2/3 of the way through the film. That scene, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It looks very staged, that scene. It doesn't look like a natural duel would, so
No.
they definitely don't hate each other, and he's obviously not trying to splatter her with the TIE
And
fighter.
also,
So.
doesn't she have Luke's lightsaber, but didn't that get destroyed in The Last Jedi when they were both using
Yeah,
their
this
force
is,
powers to
well,
obviously try and get it?
Wasn't it Thingy though that got it? Who was the character? And I can't remember the name of the character. The little sort of the woman character, kind of the creature.
Yeah, I know, but in
What
The
was her
Last Jedi, it pulled apart, didn't it? Because them two are both pulling on it.
Yeah. I know, but didn't that? What I'm saying is, didn't in The Force Awakens they make up that she just apparently had it?
Yes, I know, but
Right.
Last Jedi's after The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
They destroyed the lightsaber.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought you meant well, that makes no sense then. Yeah.
So I'm thinking
I don't get
it's
that.
just we'll find out in the first part of the film, but I'm going to assume that it gets rebuilt or brought back together through some weird Deus Ex Machina that they don't need to explain.
Maybe.
Yeah.
The Force brought it back together, some garbage like that.
I don't know. I don't know. Then
I've got to be honest though. I didn't like that. I think the trailer for me is a trailer of two parts because I think the first half of the trailer was quite boring and dragged on too long.
Then
I just
like
think it dragged
Kylo
on
Ren's
too long.
rock bottom.
No, not really. No, that bit's all-
That
that's
was
when
one
it
of the
starts
better
getting.
parts, to
No,
be
that's
fair.
when it starts getting better. I mean, pretty much the first 40 seconds or so when it's
Oh,
just
her
her
with the
standing
TIE
there.
fighter.
It's kind of boring, and that little flip she does, it's kind of like, it's just whatever.
Every generation has a legend.
Yeah, it's after that the trailer did get better. To be fair, I think the trailer gets better as it goes on. Obviously, we see Lando as well, which obviously is
Yeah.
good because he's a
Billy
good
D.
character.
Williams is back.
And so that's good. And obviously, I guess we'll be talking about the end part, which is obviously probably the most interesting.
Yeah, just before I get there, though, I do want to mention one thing as well. Kylo Ren looks like he's putting his helmet back together.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing
That is
because
good.
I preferred him with it.
Yeah. He looks more intimidating with it.
However, this feels like another retcon because in The Force Awakens, I thought he looked pretty cool with that helmet, to be honest. And then in The Last Jedi, one of the very early stages of the film, Snoke tells him to take that ridiculous thing off.
Yeah.
And then he smashes it, but now he's putting it back together. As if J.J. Abrams really wants to use it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was one of the best things about Kylo. Not that I think he's a bad character by any means. I think he's very, very good, but the helmet was menacing.
Yeah, I
Coupled
thought that too.
with his unique looking lightsaber with the cross at the bottom. I'm sure there's probably a terminology for that. But yeah, the helmet was such a massive part of his image. And when it came off, I remember when I was watching the first one together with you, the Force Awakens, and I was kind of just like, oh, that's a bit quick. Like, it just lost some of his character for me. And I'm sure people will look at it the other way and say he's more human without it, and you get to know the character a bit more. But give me the helmet. He looks menacing, and he looks ready to rock bottom everyone. So I'm down for more helmet time.
So am I. Do you think they'll finally introduce the Knights of Ren in this one? I mean, they were speculated from The Force Awakens.
Well, you would imagine so. I mean, if they're not going to introduce them in this one, what was the point?
Well,
It seems like
exactly.
it's now or never, really. So
Yeah.
I hope they do, because from everything we heard about them, they seem pretty cool.
Yeah, they did. And, they were a big part of the flashback scenes, weren't they, as well? In The Force Awakens and then Last Jedi, we saw nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And they were never mentioned.
But
as
then
if they
again,
didn't exist.
The Force Jedi, the Last Jedi was just them in space running out of fuel, wasn't it? And mum jokes or something.
Yeah, so
pretty much.
As you can tell, we didn't like that film.
10 out of 10 would watch again.
Yeah, 1 out of 10 more like, but
I guess
yeah.
the frustration with the Knights of Ren is that they could easily not mention that at all during episode 9 and just throw it in as a spin-off sometime later, which I guess would be a better spin-off plot-wise than we've seen so far, but...
Or it could be in this film some sort of thing, maybe, I don't know, someone asks Kylo about it and Kylo says like, oh, they were killed or something, or there's some stupid scene that shows them getting... I don't know.
I'd rather
they easily
weren't
not
just brushed under the carpet like that. That would be pretty
Would it
weak.
surprise you, though?
No, because to avoid a red herring,
yeah.
they could easily get rid of them that way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They're going to like make up like, oh, Kylo like has some scene where he dreams and remembers them dying or something. You can just see it now, so who knows? Hopefully not, but
yeah,
we'll see about
that. Hopefully not. And we'll get on to the point that you touched on, Sud. The end part, the Emperor's
the most interesting part.
Yeah,
probably for me.
Palpatine's back.
Yeah.
God knows in what form. I'm guessing a Force ghost. That would.
Yeah, you would imagine so. I think we're thinking maybe he's like maybe in her head or something for the whole film or something weird like that, and keeps like talking to her a bit like Yoda kind of does, doesn't he? A little bit. Yeah. And Ben Kenobi does with Luke when he kind of goes like, "Run, Luke, run," and stuff like that. You can just imagine like Palpatine saying things like that to.
Well, there was the rumours in The Last Jedi, before that film came out, that Rey was Palpatine's daughter.
Yeah, or granddaughter, or some relative anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they
would be
could play on that. I don't know.
I mean, I hope it's... I'd like that to be true, to be honest. I'd like that. I liked the idea of that ever since the first one. I always liked the idea of the flip in the film, where Kylo becomes the good guy and Rey's the bad girl, I suppose, but... I just don't think they're going to do that. I think it's pretty obvious that's not what's going to happen. But I think that would have been really interesting if they'd have done that from the start. But
yeah,
that's just me.
I guess we don't really know. Like, which way do we take the laughter? I mean, it's definitely got people talking. It was definitely the most interesting part of the trailer because the rest, generally speaking, wasn't that exciting. And then all of a sudden they end with that bombshell, which I've had a quick look around forums and especially on social media, and a lot of people have said, well, this was obvious and there was no way that the Emperor wouldn't come back. I must admit, I wasn't particularly expecting it. No. I didn't really think about it.
Do you think Rian Johnson would have brought the Emperor back if he was in charge of this one? I don't.
Not a chance.
No, it seems like a J.J. Abrams heavy decision, so it's something that I'm in favour of, and I think we all are. I'm excited to see in what form, like you guys said, if it's a Force ghost, how much influence will he have, especially with Rey's arc, or maybe he's not a Force ghost and maybe he never actually died.
In one of the comics, I'm pretty sure there was one story that he didn't die from the fall, and somehow survived, and Luke had to then go and battle him again.
Do we still think it could be something to do with Snoke, even though he's apparently dead? Like they're going to make up like, oh, he was Snoke all along or something, or he was possessing Snoke's body or something weird.
Well, that's the thing with Snoke. I don't know what they're going to do with him in this film, because I want to learn more about him, but he's dead.
I mean, he could just never be mentioned in the whole film.
Exactly, that's the worry I have.
I mean, I must admit, with Snoke, I would, if I had to choose, and I'm not saying it is like this, but if I had to choose for them to half-arse it and mention him here or there and never really flesh him out, or just never mention him again, I'd go for the second one. Because I don't see the point. Like, they made such a big thing about it, and then he's dead all of a sudden, and that's the end of it. Oh, okay, fine. That's probably admitting that it wasn't the best decision and move on, basically. But if they just drop hints here or there throughout this, I mean, how much can they really do in the final film of the trilogy with a character like that right now?
I don't know.
I can't see it being too prominent, I must admit.
I do wonder how long this film's going to be as well. Is it going to be Avengers length? Because it feels like it needs to be for them to explain everything, but...
I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. I'll take it if it's good. If it's like Last Jedi, I don't know if I would take 3 hours.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, but I think I'd rather have 3 hours if they need it.
I feel like it needs to be minimum 2.5 hours long, because I just don't know how else they can explain it.
How long was The Last Jedi? That was like nearly 2.5 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, that probably was nearly 2.5 hours. So you'd expect it to be at least as long as that, if not longer. But yeah, they've got so much to try and solve and fix, haven't they? I don't think it's going to be possible. I think the film's not going to be perfect or great. I don't even think the film's going to be amazing. I think I said this to you as well off there, Luke. I think the film's probably going to be good at best. I think it.
Yeah,
I have faith it'll be better than The Last Jedi. I can't see how it can be worse, really. So
I don't think it'll be as decisive as
no.
Is that the word I'm looking for?
Divisive?
Divisive, sorry.
No,
yeah,
I
knew when I said it was wrong. Yeah, I don't think it'll be as divisive as The Last Jedi. Not a chance.
No, I just don't think it's going to be great either, though. I don't get the sense people are going to be like, what an amazing film, and but
there's too many fires to put out from The Last
there's too
Jedi.
much
That's
to
the
do.
problem. No matter how good a job J.J. Abrams does, how much of the wreckage can you really salvage?
Well, it does feel like a
even if
salvage
it's
job,
great.
doesn't it? That's what it feels like, a salvage job. Like, let's just try and do what we can with it.
I honestly
No.
really feel like when we get this trilogy and watch it back in a couple of years or whatever, when they've all been released, you'll watch the first one and the third one, you'll think, oh, well, you can tell there's a story there, and then that second one's just there. And you watch it again and you'll be like, yeah, but you'll watch it, but you'll be like, well, how's that really play into the overall story of this film? It seems to just go a completely different way.
I'll watch the first 5 minutes, come to that mum joke and turn it off and go, nah, can't be doing this.
That mum joke,
so bad. The worst. That could be the worst moment in Star Wars.
Worst moment in Star Wars.
Also, the bit where Leia flies through the window. could also
Mary
be
Poppins. That's probably the worst. Oh well, we should touch on that actually. Carrie Fisher will be obviously last time we'll see on screen.
Yeah, that's. She has a little nice hug, doesn't she?
Yeah, with
Rey
Rey
in the trailer. So.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what they do there in terms of how they sort of.
I know.
What they do. I mean, like, is she just gonna is she actually gonna? I mean, she might not even die. That's the weird thing about it.
I feel like they have to kill her off in some sort of explosion. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like,
they had the
she's on a ship and then explodes. I know. I don't know why they didn't do that and keep Luke alive for the last one.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And they didn't even reunite Han and Luke, did they? That was one of the most criminal things.
I can't believe they didn't reunite all of them at the same time. Like, just give us the original 3. Come on.
I think give them what they wanted as well. Like, Mark Hamill's been quite vocal about that, hasn't he? That it was like, come on, we didn't even get to see them together again.
No.
So, and look, sort of going back to Leia there, we all thought watching The Last Jedi when that ship exploded, that was it.
Yeah.
To be fair, that was quite a fitting end. That was fine. Like, we were all quite satisfied with that, I think, at the time. And then all of a sudden she floats back and the eyebrows raised. I remember
being
a deep sigh.
I remember being sat in the cinema with friend of the show Dan, and I turned to him when it first happened. I went, I guess that's how they've killed her. I guess that's all right. And we're like, yeah. And then we watched it on for a little bit, and then when she started floating through space, or her eyes opened first, I think, and then she, a Mary Poppins. So we just looked at each other like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that's so bad.
And they managed to open the door. Wasn't that door didn't hit? Wasn't the hall blown off? So if they opened that door, then they'd have all died.
Yeah, apparently. Well,
you know how space works.
No, they don't. Rain Johnson clearly didn't, did he? But do you know what my worry is with this whole film? And I do think the film will be good. I do have quite a lot of faith that J.J. Abrams will at least salvage some of the film. I think my worry is that I can't envisage them doing anything interesting enough with the story now. I can't see any sort of massive twists, or I just think it's going to probably play out to the conclusion we expect. Yeah, which is probably what Kylo and Rey facing off against the Emperor or some sort of Emperor's minion or whoever it is, and I just think that's kind of boring personally. I kind of wanted to see.
I think it'll be Rey and Kylo against each other at the end.
Oh, you do think that? So. You do think it'll twist maybe into that?
Yeah, I think it'll be them two facing off.
Do you think Kylo will get maybe
killed
by Rey?
Mm-hmm.
You think Kylo will go back to the dark side, kind of? Like, it'll seem like, maybe he's turning. Yeah, I know, but what's the whole training about then? Why would Rey be training with him if he's on the dark side?
Well, that's the speculation, isn't it? But at the end of at the end of Last Jedi, he'd definitely gone back to the dark side.
Yeah,
I mean, you see him with Luke when he fought they. What was that planet called again? I can't even remember. With the red.
With the red stuff.
Salt and stuff. God, I can't even remember. Yeah.
That says it all.
But I just think it seems to me like the only logical conclusion is going to be that Rey's going to be the hero at the end, which I think is kind of boring, personally. I think that's what most people expect, and I think it's just kind of boring because like we knew that was going to happen from The Force Awakens, and we
knew
with
that
Last
with
Jedi
Luke, though.
confirmed it.
Knew that with Luke and A New Hope.
Yeah.
From the start, he was going to be the good guy.
The story was just more interesting, wasn't it? New Hope.
Yeah.
Maybe we expect a bit too much from this. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not saying there hasn't been twists and turns throughout the history of Star Wars, but generally speaking, it's quite straight down the middle with stuff like this.
Yeah.
So if Rey starts and finishes as the hero, big surprise. We all pretty much knew that would happen.
But for example, one point, like with Luke in Return of the Jedi, there was a period, wasn't there, where it was like he was kind of flirting with the dark side a little bit. You know, when he's with Vader, there's definitely
lost
a part
his temper
like,
when he mentioned sister. So
exactly. Now, what I'm saying is, I can't imagine any. I don't think there's going to be anything like that in this one. I don't think there's even going to be any sort of flirtation with the dark side or anything. Now, I get that, and this is another thing as well. What happened to this Grey Jedi stuff? That seems to have gone completely.
Well,
is that even a thing anymore?
Well, this was the problem. There was no story that covered all of it, and no bigger story that covered episode 6 to 9. It was a story in Force Awakens, then it felt like a different story in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Now it's going to feel like a different story.
Yeah. So, I do worry about the story conclusion. I really do. I can imagine us not being very satisfied with it, personally.
I think we'll be satisfied that it's done.
Yeah.
I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. Give me a good film.
I think the good thing for us, though, is we're going to go in with low expectations this time. With Last Jedi, I don't know about...
I was overhyped.
I was really hyped. I was thinking, this is good. And then, so this time, I think we are... Because we're going in with the expectations that it's going to be... Well, I'm going in with the expectation it's going to be rubbish on purpose.
Yeah, same.
Than anything. Because it's got to be better.
Yeah, so. I think even if J.J. Abrams delivers and what would typically be a 9 out of 10, it just won't be because of the holes that need filling. So it'll probably be a 6 or a 7 at best.
That's the problem.
Personally, for me, and I don't know if I'm alone in this way of thinking, but I would love to see a complete and utter twist at the end where Rey gets killed by Kylo. And I don't care in what kind of scenario it happens, good versus bad, or just out of nowhere. I'd love to see that because it would just finish it on a real high for me. And it goes against what I said before of it being quite predictable from start to finish. So I think something like that would be dramatic. Well, I just don't see it happening.
Well, yeah, that's kind of my point, though. That was kind of my point. I'd love to see a ridiculous twist like that where Rey ends up like getting seduced by the dark side and Kylo has to kill her out of mercy or something. You know what I mean? Just something interesting. But they're just not going to do that, I don't think.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
I can't see it. And
no.
It just wouldn't make sense for Disney either, would it? Disney want Rey to be the hero that sells merchandise and stuff. So you've got to kind of think of it from that point of view as well. They're not going to. I just can't see it. They're having her as the villain.
No.
So
neither can I. And it's just something we'll find out soon enough at the end of this year. So yeah, we'll look forward to that. Well,
sort
of, yeah.
Yeah, with trepidation.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll wait for it to come around.
We will, and we will move on from our Star Wars talk and getting disappointed thinking about The Last Jedi. We'll go into topic number 3, which is does an easy mode ruin games? This is a debate that has been running now for the past couple of weeks since the release of Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, as it doesn't have an easy or any difficulty that you can select, which caused this debate. What do you guys think of this? Does an easy mode ruin games?
This is a really complex issue that I don't even know if it has an answer, because it depends on a lot of factors, doesn't it? It depends on the type of game it is. It depends on whether the difficulty how much the difficulty affects the gameplay, how much it affects other factors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a really hard one to answer. I think with the case with it's Sekiro, isn't it? The game that's just come out, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. A lot of people moaning that the game's too difficult and that they can't advance. But you also hear other people saying, well, it's just as hard as Bloodborne and Dark Souls. There's really and some people actually say it's easier than some of the early Dark Souls games. So it's a weird one, really. I don't actually remember people crying out when Dark Souls came out for an easy mode. So it seems like this is a more recent thing, maybe a more millennial problem or something. I don't know. I don't like to say that, but
Going down a
it's kind
tricky
of
road there.
No, but I know, but it kind of is true, isn't it? As time
Yeah.
goes on, more and more people clamouring for sort of, oh, we want this and Scotland. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I fall probably more on the side of, I think it's a little bit ridiculous, especially in a game like this. The game kind of revolves around it being tough. That is kind of the point. You think of games in the past, sort of like Ninja Gaiden, even Devil May Cry to a certain extent can be tough. Games like that. The whole point is that they are difficult. They're not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to master the game and learn. And especially with like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, and the whole point of the game is you learn from your mistakes and get better at the game, and that's how you advance.
They're basically in a genre of their own.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all well and good having an easy mode on Call of Duty. That's fine. I'm not sitting here saying there shouldn't be easy modes in games. I just think it depends on the game, though. I don't think there should be an easy mode in every single game. Like, in like maybe 80-90% of all games, yeah, there should be an easy mode. But I still think there should be that 10 to 15% of games that are sort of, for people.
Hey, if they're made to be hard, they're made to be hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, some people argue, well, if you put an easy mode in Sekiro, it wouldn't ruin your experience. But it probably would, because, it'd make you go, oh, do you know what? If you keep down to a boss, you might just go, oh, do you know what? I'll just knock it down to easy. And that kind of ruins the game, I think, in a way. Because it's like you've kind of sort of cheated the game, almost, in this sort of game. So I think an easy mode in a game like Bloodborne or Dark Souls or Sekiro would be awful, personally. I think the game would not have any appeal. So that's my point of view on it.
What are your thoughts then, Perks?
I don't really know where to start with this one. Simply because games haven't always had difficulty settings, and I'm probably going to sound like I'm way ahead of my generations here, but I think that like Pac-Man never had a difficulty setting. Tetris, when it first came out, never had a difficulty setting. Neither did Space Invaders. None of the early video games had difficulty settings. You were just good at them and you mastered them, or you didn't, and so be it, basically. There was no divine right that you should be able to extend past a certain point in the game. You just did it. And I completely accept in an arcade format, you see the game on the screen and that's it. You progress through the levels and it gets faster and faster. That's how difficulty progresses. Sorry. So I understand the frustration with a game like Sekiro. It's not quite as linear. If you can't do the first part, you don't ever get to see the rest of the game. But if they exist in a genre on their own, like you touched on before, that's not a big deal to me. We know what From Software are all about. We know what Bloodborne was about and Dark Souls as a franchise. And Sekiro adding to that, by all accounts, and they're not even my favorite type of game. I've barely played any of them. But by all accounts, they're really good games. They're really well made. And the difficulty and the learning curve that goes with them is part of that charm. It's part of the reason why people enjoy them so much.
Yeah, you learn each time you die.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it gives massive frustration, don't get me wrong. Matty's someone who got frustrated to hell with Dark Souls. I remember being in the party chat with him quite a lot when he was playing that back in the day. And it's that ultimate frustration of you go through the same part again and again and again and again, but eventually you can do it, or you can learn how to do it. It's really punishing. It's a time sink because of how frustrating it is with the death and then the difficulty mechanics. But you know what you're getting into with these kind of games, so no big deal to me. I'm quite happy for them to just go as they are. I don't think games like this need easy, medium, and hard. I mean, I think when we look at it in a wider spectrum and not just in a vacuum with games in this genre, let's think about a game, and then this is a completely random one off the top of my head, but it's one that we all played together for a lot of hours back in the day, which was the Terrorist Hunt mode on Rainbow Six.
Oh, great game.
You could run that on the easiest difficulty in the same team that you could on the hardest difficulty. You run it on easy, it's so boring that you can just get one guy to run through it and everyone can stand still. You run it on hard, and it's intense, and the
punishing.
game feels a lot better because of it. It's so tactical, you have to have call-outs left, right, and center. But on easy, it's
Pretty pointless.
pretty boring.
It's boring.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. You can charge enemies, but you progress to the same part in completing one or the other. Sure, you get XP gains and unlock a few more things by playing on hard, but from start to finish, it's the same thing. So I'm okay with games like this, and I'm also okay with games that have straight up difficulty settings. I don't see people's problem with this.
No, it's it feels almost like, Sekiro's a game that, because they said, didn't they, it's not the same as Bloodborne and Dark Souls. There is slight differences, but in a lot of ways it's similar, as well, in terms of the difficulty and stuff like that. It seems like people have bought this game expecting it to be totally different, and because it isn't, and because it's quite similar in terms of, like, you die quickly and stuff like that, people have kind of spat the dummy out a bit and gone like, oh, I didn't expect this from this game. This is ridiculous. And it's like, I feel like it's a lot of the, no From Software fan buying this game will complain about the difficulty. They know exactly what they're getting themselves in for when they play the game. This is newer fans, isn't it, basically? Maybe people that have never played a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne. So from that point of view, I suppose it is kind of understandable. But I just think, look, I've played most of From Software's games in the last 10 years. I've played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne. I haven't had a chance to play Sekiro yet. But, and I'm not ashamed to admit, the only one I completed out of them was Dark Souls 2. Because they're hard, they're tough games, and they require a lot of patience. And, you need a lot of perseverance. And, ironically, the one I completed, well, not ironically, actually, it is the easiest one. Dark Souls 2, many people think, is the easiest of the 4, and I'd agree with that. And guess which one people don't like the most out of all them? Dark Souls 2. No surprise there, then. So, it's counterproductive. That should prove that this is silly and a stupid argument to make the games easier. Because people don't like them when they're easier, I don't know. A lot of people used to moan back in the day Dark Souls was unfair because of the movement was a bit clunky and stuff like that. But, Bloodborne sort of remedied that. Bloodborne's a lot of people's favourite now because of the movement and how fast it is. Sekiro, similar, even faster with the grappling hook and stuff like that. So they are doing things to vary it up. But I just think it's ridiculous. I really do. I think, not every game is going to be for everyone, is it? That's the important point here. You can't be expecting to go into, as a gamer and go, I'm going to like 100% of everything that comes out and everything has to cater to me. It's kind of a selfish viewpoint in a way to be like, oh, we all have genres, don't we? Really, that we don't care about or couldn't care less about,
Yeah.
And that's normal, I'm not expecting, a genre I don't like to go, oh, you have to change because I don't like it. No, I respect what you do, and I'm sure you have a good audience, but I just don't want to play it. It's as simple as that.
This is like me with the Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I've heard for so many times from different people how difficult the game is and stuff like that, but I guess that's the lure of the game. But that's a genre I don't want to play as a result.
Exactly.
But I don't moan about it.
Exactly. And it feels like some of these people haven't even played the game when they're complaining. They're just saying, like, yeah, the game should have an easy mode. It's literally the equivalent of you going on and going, yeah, the game should definitely have an easy mode. And it's like, you haven't played the game. Never played the game. It's like,
just like, yeah.
Like, it's, you just get on with your life and play something different, don't you? As far as I'm concerned, just play whatever you want to play.
Strong words there.
It's like you personally, you're not a fan of racing games, are you? But you would never say, oh, racing games should be like, should have this and should have that to cater to me. It's like, no, I just don't play. Yeah, I just don't play them because I don't like them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's it. You give me a gun on a racing game so I can shoot people that are ahead of me, then I'm
Maybe
playing
you'll enjoy them.
It's fine. That's a way to improve it.
It's such a stupid argument to me. It's like, you'd never say, oh, racing games need to change like that. It's just, I just don't understand. You just don't play it. If you don't like that genre, don't play it. Let other people enjoy their racing games or their Dark Souls games or soccer games, whatever it is. Like
soccer
games.
Mate, I have to pick you up on that.
Yeah, well, there's we've got American listeners out there, so
yeah,
I should have said football / soccer, shouldn't I? So
I think what I would add to that, and I don't even know if I believe this, but maybe playing devil's advocate is perhaps there's people out there who do really enjoy these kind of games, but they can't do them. So it's not a case of get on with your life and play something else. It's I really like this style of game, but I'm not good enough to complete it or even progress in it, forget complete it. And that I can see as a grey area in this because they end up getting alienated from something that they enjoy just because of it. And like I said, maybe that's nonsense because typically speaking, if you enjoy things like this, then you enjoy difficulty. But there will always be a small percentage of people who, I guess, fall outside of the bracket.
With this game, actually, I really enjoy this formula. I've enjoyed all our games pretty much, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and I'm not one for playing games on the hardest difficulty at all. I genuinely play on the normal difficulty or even easy, depending on the game. So, I'm not really their target audience, but I still enjoy the game because of what it is, because it is so challenging and it's so I can't tell you, it's one of the most rewarding games ever when you beat a boss that you never thought you'd beat like an hour ago or 3 hours ago. It's so rewarding. And there's no feeling like it in a game for me. It's one of the best feelings about beating boss. I think the Dark Souls bosses for me, when you beat them, are definitely the best bosses in terms of the feeling you get for beating them. And I just think it's silly, really, people crying out for all these easy, these things in games. It's like, yeah, on typical games, fine. Like I said, on 80-85% of games, yeah, there probably should be easy, normal, and hard because the game suits it. But there's certain games that just don't suit difficulty settings, and it should just be the way it is, as far as I'm concerned.
I guess my final say on it will come back to the title. Has an easy mode ever ruined a game? No, is the answer to that question, but that doesn't mean that an easy mode should be in every game.
No, exactly.
It doesn't ruin a game. It can hamper an experience.
Yeah,
that's the argument, though, I would make.
Well, there is actually examples of a few games that have done this. A game actually, there was a Game of the Year contender last year, Celeste. Now that was a really tough platformer, and people were actually moaning because they did actually put in an easy mode where you couldn't die, basically. So you'd never go back. You just keep going on and on and on and on and on until you finished it. And people moaned about it, saying, "Well, what's the point? You've basically ruined the whole point of the game. It's supposed to be a tough platformer that you learn." So that could be an example of where maybe an easy mode has ruined a game. But then you probably get some people saying, "Well, I would have never finished the game without it." So, yeah, I mean, I suppose it can be 50-50 with these things, but I just think the whole thing has been blown way out of proportion.
Yeah, I think these type of games have their own genre. Leave them there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't have an easy mode, and well, Dark Souls doesn't have easy mode, does it?
No.
The only thing I would say, the only sort of thing is Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I don't know about Sekiro, it probably does. It has co-op, which you can get someone to join your game for bosses and stuff, which makes it 3-4 times easier than on your own.
Oh, really? So it's not like Borderlands.
Well, to be fair, though, with things like that, that's a whole different story. I mean, that's tantamount to getting someone to come in and carry you, and that.
Well, what I'm saying is, Perks, that is an option for people that say moan about all the games too. We'll find a co-op partner and get someone to help you.
What if they don't have friends?
Well, that's their problem.
LFG.
That's their problem. Well, find friends, meet people online, meet people. That's. Look, if you're going to play the game single player, then yeah, okay, I understand. But a lot of people now have online connections. Most people play games online. It's a vast majority do. So if you're struggling with the game, find a co-op partner. There's your easy mode. End of story.
I don't think people would accept that as a solution.
No, they wouldn't. But it is. But let's be honest, it could be a solution, couldn't it? If you're struggling with a boss.
In a wide sense, yeah, I guess.
Because the whole point of these games is you can summon. They've got summon signs before bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you have seen it before, but
yeah,
on videos.
And you have limitations, though, don't they? They're not available right from the very beginning, and you have to unlock certain
You do,
things.
but it's fairly early on.
I'm no expert, so I'm just going off what I've seen here on playthroughs. But
unlock.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it is an option.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with bosses, you can get summon people, and the game becomes way easier.
And to quote Sud, end of story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, make friends, get on with your life.
Well, yeah, I mean, people probably would give me, people might give me crap for it, but, I don't care at the end of the day. there's nothing to say that I'm right or there's nothing to say that I'm wrong. So it's just my opinion on it. So,
Come at me, bro.
well, it's just my opinion. I'm just, I'm not. It's not an objective opinion. It's a subjective opinion. So
And
people
you
might
can
disagree with me.
Come
but-
at him on the comments or on social media. Actually, that sounded so wrong.
Yes, that's maybe not the best word in there.
Oh,
But,
dear. Don't do that. Don't find him and
no,
don't do
that.
that. Anyway, we'll leave it there. But I do have one question before we go. Have you watched The Condemned yet, Sud?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh,
Yeah,
such
I know.
a good film.
I need to watch it, but it's just it's not on anything though. It's not on Netflix.
Get
I'd
your
probably
laptop
have to.
on.
Yeah, I'd probably have to like
Stream
buy
it.
the DVD for like. I bet I could find it in CX 50p, couldn't I? Probably.
They'd probably give you the copy. Just
Yeah.
take it off our hands,
And then I'd
please.
trade it in again the next day for like a penny or something. So
Hey,
But-
Perks, you love that film. Less of that.
I tell you what, if it ever comes on Netflix or something,
It's
like that, I'll
never
watch
going to
it.
come on Netflix.
No, it might. If it's such a good film, you keep clamoring for it. Maybe it'll come on Netflix.
Hey, just watch it on your
But-
laptop.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sure it is a decent film. If you're both saying it's decent, I'm sure it is decent.
You'll get
Well,
enjoyment.
Just
out of
saying,
it.
yeah, you will get enjoyment out of it. That
It's
does
certainly not a
mean
film
it's
that
good.
it's certainly not a film that if I don't watch it, that's it. Is it? Like it's not like a must-see film.
That's it for you. You're done.
So maybe a
Well-
condemned fan base or something,
Maybe next week you might have
come
seen
to
it. Who knows?
or maybe. But
Tune in next week.
to find out. I mean, I doubt. I'm going to say I doubt it very much. but-
Spoiler: he won't have watched
No.
it.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
No.
I
you
think you
never
do.
know, but probably
Maybe it'll be
not.
randomly
Yeah.
on TV. Maybe I'll randomly flick it on and it'll be on. So
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway,
who knows?
that's our thoughts on the topics we've covered today, and again, The Condemned. But before we go, remember to subscribe for more gaming content each week. Give our video a like and comment below with your opinions on the topics we've covered. You can also follow Checkpoint Reach Podcast on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CheckReachPod. Links will actually be in the description below as well for that. You can also follow us on social media. Where can people find you, Sud?
You can find me at David Tenspud.
Lovely stuff. How about you, Perks?
I'm at JG Perks.
Cool, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Leld, LEL3Ds, add a 9 on the end for Instagram. Again, links will be in the description below. Anyway, thanks for joining me as ever, guys. Have a good week,
worries.
and we'll chat again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.